Have you ever looked at your dog, really looked at them, and just wished they could be with you forever? It's a thought almost every pet owner has. Well, today, we're going to dive into a technology that sorta makes that possible: dog cloning. But the big question is it a scientific miracle or is it a step too far?
Yeah, there's a reason we say that. The connection we have with our dogs, it can be one of the deepest, most real relationships in our lives. And that bond, that's exactly why saying goodbye is so unbelievably tough. It's also what's fueling this whole multi-million-dollar industry, one that promises to bring man's best friend back.
And that is the question, isn't it? It's powerful, it's tempting, but is it really the same friendship? Can science actually replicate, well, not just the body, but the spirit, the personality? These are the really tricky, personal questions we're going to get into.
Okay, so first things first, why would anyone even consider this? For a lot of people, it's not just about dodging the pain of losing a pet. It's about trying to hold on to something they feel is absolutely one of a kind, that specific look in their eye, a goofy habit, or maybe even a champion bloodline. The reasons are as unique as the dogs themselves.
So, how in the world do you take that feeling, that deep desire, and turn it into a living, breathing puppy? Well, the science behind it is pretty brilliant, but for some, it's also kind of unsettling. So let's break down how creating a genetic copy of a dog actually works.
All right, so the fancy scientific term is somatic cell nuclear transfer. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the basic idea is actually pretty simple. A somatic cell is just any regular body cell, like a skin cell. And nuclear transfer literally just means they take the nucleus, the part with all the DNA, and move it somewhere else. That's it.
The easiest way to think about it is like this. You've got a donor egg, but its own nucleus has been taken out. That egg is basically a blank computer, a fresh hard drive. Then you take the nucleus from the dog you want to clone. That's the hard drive with all the original data on it. Scientists just swap the hard drives. They pop the original dog's data into the blank computer. This new little embryo then gets implanted into a surrogate mom, and she carries the puppy to term. As you can probably guess, a technology like this opens up a huge can of worms, ethically and practically. On one hand, you have this incredible promise of a second chance. But on the other, well, there's a whole list of potential issues that make a lot of people really uncomfortable. And when you look at both sides of the argument, it gets really interesting. On the promise side, just imagine being able to bring back a dog breed that's on the verge of extinction. That's a huge deal. Or for you, personally, it's the hope of keeping that special connection going. But the concerns on the other side are just as heavy. Critics worry about the sheer number of surrogate dogs it can take for just one successful clone, and whether these cloned animals might have unexpected health problems. And then there's the psychological part, the pressure on an owner to see their old friend in a brand new puppy, and the pressure on that little puppy to live up to a memory it doesn't even have. And then, there's the price tag. $50,000. Let that sink in. That's the price of a really nice car. This isn't just a financial thing. It's a social one. It immediately brings up the question of who even gets to access this kind of technology.
And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi debate. Commercial cloning is happening right now, all over the world. But the rules of the game, they're totally different depending on where you are.
It all started back in 2005 with a dog named Snuppy. His birth was a massive scientific breakthrough, but man, was it hard. It took over 1,000 embryos, implanted into 123 surrogate mothers, just to get that one single successful clone. That same year, the first commercial project started up, and just like that, the pet cloning industry was born. In this table, it just shows you what a wild patchwork of rules we have across the globe. South Korea, where it all started, has totally embraced it. Places like the UK and Australia are a lot more cautious. They allow it, but with really strict rules about animal welfare. And then in the US and China, it's kind of like the Wild West, with private companies really pushing the limits in a space that doesn't have a lot of regulation.
To really get the human side of all this, you've got to hear the story of a dog who became a global superstar. They said she was so small when she was born she could fit inside a teaspoon. Her name was Miracle Millie.
So, this is Miracle Millie. And let me tell you, she wasn't just small. She had a huge personality. Her owner, Vanessa Semler, described her as this little diva with a massive heart who just captivated the entire world. Okay, so how tiny are we talking? At her full height, Millie was 3.8 inches tall. To put that in perspective for you, that is shorter than a credit card is long. Just tiny.
And she weighed, get this, just 1 pound. Her size made her famous for sure, but it was her unique genes that would soon make her a scientific legend.
And this is where her story gets absolutely wild. Miracle Millie was cloned an incredible 49 times. So, why? Well, scientists were completely fascinated by her genetics. They wanted to figure out what made her so small. And for her owner, it was a way to make sure that Millie's amazing legacy would never really end.
So, Millie's story, it really shows you that powerful emotional pull, right? But as we've seen, the decision to actually go through with it is so far from simple. It's a choice that pits love against science and hope against, well, reality.
And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to understand in this whole conversation. A clone is a genetic twin. It is not a reincarnation. The new puppy will have the exact same DNA, sure, but it won't have the same memories. It won't have the same personality. Nurture, the environment, the training, all the little experiences that make up a life, that plays such a massive role. It's like you get the blueprint, but you don't get the building.
So we land back at this deeply personal question. But maybe it's not just, would you clone your dog? Maybe the real question is, what are you truly hoping to get back? Is it a look, a personality, a feeling? And is that something science can ever really truly copy? It's a question that makes you think about life, love, and what it actually means to be one of a kind.